Hey there, friends of GreatWave. Here we are in the palatial GreatWave workshop, otherwise known as my garage. I'm sure you're all familiar with the Pimp My Filter series by my friend the Pond Guru. He's become world famous with those. While I can't hope to match his production values or his charming British accent, I thought it was a little unfair to make him do all the work. Those videos have certainly been a godsend for folks that would like to improve their filters, especially using the BioHome media. So I thought I'd give it a shot to take a look at some filters that he hasn't looked at yet, may not be available in the UK and whatnot. So we'll see how it goes. So our first patient here is the Hydor Professional 450. I noticed that he hasn't gotten that one online. I hope he hasn't spent a bunch of time shooting it. He may have it in the can already. We'll find out, I guess. But anyway, I've had several customers that have inquired about this filter, and I was a little intrigued with it. It's not the most familiar name. It's not up there with Eheim or Fluval or even the Sun filters. But I kind of like the looks of it. It's an Italian design, and I suppose an Italian company. Of course, it's made in China. So here you can see the filter, and then of course all the other stuff that comes with it, which is fairly standard. One of the things that I noticed, I'm not real sure how well that would work, is while it looks black, the body of that's actually translucent, and then of course you can see the hose is also translucent. Looks pretty cool, but I'm a little concerned. I don't like translucent or transparent stuff around water because it tends to encourage algae growth. But I suppose if you have this stashed away in your cabinet under your aquarium, it'd be plenty dark and that probably wouldn't be a real problem. But it does look nice. I'd have preferred they just had black plastic there, to tell you the truth, although it might be kind of handy to be able to see what's going on. If you get up close enough, you could probably see what is happening inside a bit. But anyway, we'll tear this rascal apart and talk about how we would like to see it put back together, and then ultimately when we get it done and have tested it a bit, see how well it works out, we'll clean everything up real nice and put it up for sale for a real nice price and see if somebody wants a nice Hydor filter. So I don't have an aquarium to test this out on. I'm a koi keeper. What I'm going to do, I've got my endless river filter here that we used to manufacture, and a couple years ago I ran a couple of Fluval 406s. They actually sit right down here on this shelf. I was testing out foam for quite a while, and so I'm going to do a similar setup with this. This space is not going to be available, however. We'll have a Masuro mounted here before long to get the water clearer in here. But I think this will be a good test bed, and I'll show you why here in just a second. So here's the inlet of the Endless River filter, and you can see I've only got 3 koi in this tank. It's about 500 gallons. But they generate a fair bit of waste. So this is actually where I'm going to have the inlet for the filter, and I think that's going to give it a pretty good test. I hope this is probably a little more debris than you probably see in your average aquarium. So anyway, it should give a good bit of debris into the filter under test, and that will allow us to see how well it manages that. There's 4 clamps that hold the pump head on this filter. There's one in front, similar one here in the back, and then these 2 sort of stealthy looking rascals here on the side. They open up like this. So basically, to get this pump head off of here, you have to open up all 4 of those, and then it should come right off. And so it does, and there it is. The impeller, if you ever have to mess around with the pump for whatever reason, is fairly easy to access. You just twist this a little bit counterclockwise, and then the hoe, impeller, and the rotor pull right out of the pump motor. And so that makes that pretty easy to service. It doesn't appear to me that there's anything else you can service in this pump head. I do see there's some Phillips screws here, so I suppose you could tear it apart. I'll take a look at the manual, but a little later, but I can't really imagine there's much else in there that they want you to mess around with. So in here, then, we have sort of some classical filter trays like you might see in a lot of different canister filters. You'll notice that they've shaped this thing in such a way that everything's keyed, so it's impossible to kind of screw it up, putting it back together. And they got a nice little handle here that allows you to take everything apart pretty handily. And of course, you'll notice that in classical fashion, they've kind of got everything put together ass backwards from the way anybody would really want to do it. Now, they do provide a little more media than I've seen with some. I know in the 406s I had, there was a laughable amount of ceramic media similar to this, although the 406 did have real decent mechanical filtration, the big filters, the big sponges down the side, and then the bottom tray was filled with a couple different grades of foam. So this one here has what appears to be kind of a medium foam. It looks very much like our medium foam there. And so there it is. And everything is completely empty now. You can see there's a little bit of dust. I'm not sure what on earth that is from, but that should be easy to remove. And so it goes. And so now we'll tackle this rascal and see how we would put it back together were it mine, and hopefully were it yours in the future. So by now, anybody that follows the Pond Guru, and myself for that matter, should be pretty well familiar with the idea of a coarse, medium, and fine mechanical filtration. And so you can see here that the foam they provide is very, very much like our medium foam. So probably 20 pores per inch would be my guess. It turns out their foam is a little bit thicker than our foam, which is an inch thick. So I'm thinking that we can probably get 2 layers of foam into that tray. We'll give it a shot here. We'll cut out a couple pieces, and we'll see in a moment. So the trays are 6 1/4 by 8 1/4 by just a hair under 2 inches deep. So I'm thinking that we should be able to get a coarse and a medium in that lower tray. So there, we've got the coarse foam installed, looking pretty nice. So we'll see if we can pull off the same trick with the medium. And so now we've got the coarse and the medium, and that fits about as sweet as you could possibly imagine. It's pretty easy to cut this foam if you have a nice sharp utility knife. That's all I use this one for, is cutting foam. So it does a pretty decent job. One thing I noticed, I think if I were going to do this for another one, in fact, I'll do it for the fine foam, I wouldn't cut that little curve out. I would just let that tray compress that there. I don't really like that little gap that's there, but that's the same curve that was in the stock foam. So hopefully there won't be too much getting by that area, but I don't really like that. And I may even feel the same way about cutting the little reliefs along the side here. The foam will compress quite handily, and I think that might give us a better seal. So you can see the top tray is filled with this floss. I'm not a big fan of, but of course it is dirt cheap, and it's used a lot as a polishing mat. Of course, again, if you've followed the Pond Guru or myself at all, you know that we don't really like to put that on top. Reason being that is, if any debris did get through your initial mechanical filtration, this is just going to tend to back it up into the biological media, and we don't really want that. So you could, in fact, use this as actually two layers. So if you are a fan of this, see if I can get this out of here without tearing it apart. You could, in fact, use that as your fine filtration, but I'm not going to do that because, like I said, I'm not a fan. I would simply get our foam filter set and make three foams, including the fine foam, which is 45 pores per inch, and you'll be able to reuse that for many, many months. So there's our fine foam, and yeah, obviously if I don't try to get fancy, makes it much easier to cut. All I have to, the only trick is cutting out the little hole for the inlet tube, but that's not too bad. So let's see how that fits in the tray. Aha, and just as I suspected, it fits like a glove. So yeah, that makes that a whole lot easier. Just cut out a rectangular, then cut the hole, and we won't have to worry about all those fancy little grooves and whatnot. I think we'll have a better fit. So looking at this a bit closer, I didn't like the way that this little piece here forced the foam in. So I just took, instead of cutting a slot out there for that, I just cut in a little bit with my knife on both sides, and that allows that to fit much nicer. So I'm happy with that. Now it would have been beautiful if all three of those foams would have fit in that bottom tray, but they didn't. And I'm not sure it would make any difference, but I don't really want to put the media directly on top of this. So I just happen to have some pieces here of perforated polypropylene that I used to hold the media in some showers that I built. And so a few seconds on the table saw and with my hand saw and my cutters, I was able to come up with these little screens that fit in there nicely, and that'll spread the weight out of the media quite nicely. So I don't think it's going to overly compress that fine foam, which is fairly resistant anyway, since it's so fine. But anyways, there we go. So now we are ready for the piece de resistance. We'll start adding some media. So everyone knows that Ultimate is the most popular and supposedly the best of the biohome varieties. But the Super Bio Gravel is a newer variety that came out, golly, a little over a year ago, I guess. I believe the intention was to develop a media that was a little less expensive and would be suitable for showers in ponds where where you'd probably need a little more media, and therefore it'd be advantageous to be a little cheaper. But another benefit of it is because of its shape and just of its general construction, it's considerably denser than any of the other varieties except for the biogravel. And the biogravel is a great little medium if you have a hang on the back or a biorb or something like that with not a whole lot of room, and you need to get some biological media in there. So they have comparable densities. Which means that you can get more kilograms of this stuff in quite a bit more into the same space. And my dealer in Hawaii is an absolute believer in this. He originally used Ultimate in all of his filters. I don't know how many tanks he has, but several. And he pulled it all out and replaced it with this and swears by it. And he's been selling quite a bit over there in the islands. So I'm going to load this rascal up with some super biogravel. And then we'll see how much we can get in there, and then we can do some calculations, figure out how much Ultimate or Mini or any of the other varieties, the stick varieties, that would have fit in that space. So we'll see how this goes. We'll just start loading this rascal up. So you can see the size varies quite a bit for the super biogravel. You may have to be a little bit selective in locating some of the pieces to get the tray as fully loaded as you'd like. I've noticed quite a few people that use the Ultimate or one of the other stick varieties will often order a kilogram or even a half a kilogram of the biogravel, and they use that then to kind of fill in the spaces there to get as much packed into a tray as they possibly can. So that's another possibility. But we're going to go ahead and finish filling this rascal up with the super biogravel, see how it looks. So here we've got the first tray with, or the second tray actually, with the one sheet of fine foam in the bottom of it and my little spacer in there. And then this baby's filled right up, and the third tray will fit nicely right on top. So we'll just keep on going. So that tray, because we don't have the foam taking up some space in the bottom, is a little easier to fill. I still save, kind of fill in the top part with some of the smaller balls to get the maximum amount in there. So we're going to dump this on the scale here and just get an idea how much one full tray will hold. And then when we're all done, we'll dump the whole shebang in the scale and see what the grand total is. So let's see what we got here. So here we've got her on a scale, and that's not too bad. We can get 1.5 kilograms in a tray, it looks like. So that means 2 full trays going to hold 3, and then maybe the other one will hold another 1, so probably around 4 kilograms total. We'll check it all out here in a minute and see what the final number is. So there we go. We got all 3 of those trays fully packed and the lid is on. So we'll dump this in the scale now and see what we wound up with. So here we have it on the scale, and the number is, as I was hoping for, 4.105 kilograms. So since I packed 30 grams per kilogram extra for every order, you'd actually, if you ordered 4 kilograms, you'd get 4.12 kilograms. You'd actually wind up with probably one piece about this size left over, and have that fully packed. Or if you pack better than I do, you'd be just right. So very good. I'll see if I can get that all back in there now, and we'll finish putting this rascal together, and then we'll be ready to mount it here as soon as I can get everything situated on my QT. All right, so we've got all the trays loaded up in the filter, and you can see through there and see what's going on. Whoops, looks like I got a little bit of a gap there. I'm going to have to kind of rearrange a few pieces. Let's see if we can get that straightened out. That's better. Actually, there wasn't any problem with the media. I just needed to push that down into place. So there we are. All we got to do now is throw the head on there and it would be ready to go. Now, there's a couple little details that I didn't cover. When you get this, you'll get some product information when you get any of our stuff. And one of the things we talk about is rinsing all of the product. That will include the foam filter to get off anything that might be left over from the manufacturing process. And of course the media, because there will be a fair bit of dust on it. It gets some debris rubbed off during the long trip over here from the UK, as well as the trip to your place. So it'll be a little bit dusty, and we want to clean all that crap off. Definitely want to rinse that off, and I haven't done that yet. But I'll do that before we put this thing into operation. But at any rate, this gives you the idea. Fairly painless. Didn't take a whole lot of extra work or anything to do that. One other thing I want to do here before we close this video is let's see how much media we got with this wonderful filter. So here we see the media, the ceramic media that came with this on the scale, and look at there, we got a whopping kilogram of it. I'm guessing the plastic bags account for the 0.25. So right at a kilogram of ceramic media, and we replaced that with 4 kilograms of sintered glass biohome media with considerably more surface area. And you'll notice, of course, like most of the ceramic media, this has an open center, which of course gives it more surface area for the aerobic bacteria, but eliminates any possibility of anaerobic bacteria ever occurring. And so the aerobic bacteria in there busily creating nitrates, and obviously this stuff's not going to do anything for reducing the nitrate. And so you kind of get, with this conversion, something like four times the filtration for the price of one. That's a pretty good deal. Because you got to keep in mind, this media, or the biohome for that matter, doesn't really do anything until the bacteria start to grow on it. It's the bacteria that does all the work, and giving it at least 4 times as much room to grow is going to give you at least 4 times the effectiveness, I believe. And so that pretty well wraps this up. We'll put the lid on just so you can see what it looks like, and then I'll go behind the scenes to pull it apart again, rinse everything out. I've got to modify my QT system to make a home for this, and we'll get it running. Once we do that, we'll do another short video, and then probably a month or so later we'll tear the whole thing down, take a peek inside, see how well the filter is filtering as it relates to the actual debris that comes through it. And so let's finish her up here quick. And there we go. It's all put together. Looking pretty nice, if I say so myself. I do like the looks of it. Not that you're probably going to put it out there where anybody can see it much of the time, but it is a pretty sharp looking filter. The Italians definitely know their style, and it's going to be interesting to see how well it performs. So till that time, happy fish keeping.